Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it rain. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it rain.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully you guys are having a great start to your week. It is Tuesday, the 29th of April. We're almost done with April already. We're almost into summer, guys. We're almost there. My hair's looking a little messy, but that's okay. That's okay. I feel like I'm sat down so far. Or maybe you guys need to go down. I don't know. It just looks a little funky tonight. But that's okay. That's okay. Hopefully you guys are having a great start to your week. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, my name is Tanya or TitaniumBuilt. You can call me either or. We'll go ahead and we'll get into tonight's live. I'll say hi to some people in the chat. And I'll tell you about what we're going to be talking about tonight. There's some new documents that have come out. And there's a new interview with Mr. Goncalves that Ashley Banfield did. She actually did 2 interviews with him. She did one on News Nation and she did one on her own podcast or her own YouTube channel. So I thought we'd watch the one on her YouTube channel because you guys might not have seen that one. And if you have, let me know. Let me know if you've seen either of them. Hey, Princess. Hey, Ladybug. Welcome in, guys. Hey, Dawn. Hey, Triple L. Hey, Ministry. Hey, Baby Girl. Hey, Patrick. Welcome in. Hey, Michael. Hey, Pete. Crafty One. Hey, Karen. Tornado sirens. Oh, no. I thought there was going to be tornadoes coming through this place today. We took a nap instead. It was storming so bad here. It was powerful. It was really powerful. And I was like, what do I do? Right? Like, where do I go? And so I'm just thinking like the storage unit, like that's the only place I could think of, but it's so jam packed. I wouldn't be able to fit me and the dogs and the cat in there. So we'd have to sit in the hallway. But I think would you get in the bathtub or is that for fires? Do you do that for tornadoes too? Let me know if you know that. I couldn't remember. Hey, Chris. Hey, Triple L again. Hey, Shells. Hey, PKC. Hey, Olga. Hey, Aries. How you doing tonight? Hey, get to the ducking point. Oh, you're in Texas. Also, you stay safe. I'm in Ohio. We don't normally get them. We've only gotten them once, and they were bad. They were really bad. Hey, Willows. Hey, Chris. You can come on in here. The dog's crying at the door because the other dog is laying in her spot. So I may have to I may have to move them so that way they're good to go. I don't think she's gonna. Hold on 1 second. I think I can get them. Okay. Let me just grab one. You come here. I don't know why I turned my camera off. Come on. I'm not seeing much. You just see me walking around. I look the same as I do sitting down, I think. Okay, I got them both in here. We got them both. Okay, cool. The one will sound like Chewbacca. She makes these noises and she'll sit back there the whole live and she'll just make them. So I was like, I might as well get up and get them situated, right? Um, but there are some new documents that have come out in the Idaho 4 case. We're going to go over those tonight. But I am actually going to go over an article instead of the actual documents. I went through them and I read it earlier and I highlighted a bunch of stuff. And then I found this document or this article and it literally just cuts to the chase and gets right to the point. And it's a little better than reading over the document just for the fact that there's a lot of examples that they give in this document. And I feel like when they start giving examples, it gets kind of confusing as to what case they're talking about. Like, are they talking about Brian Kohlberger or is this part of the examples? Um, so we'll start with that and then we'll move over to the interview with Ashley Banfield. It looks like they did like an hour or so, like an hour interview. And then she did like 15 minutes on News Nation with him. So I know that the one on News Nation, there was some stuff that came out that it was out prior, but it wasn't out all the way. So I know that on the News Nation episode, he will say that Kaylee was punched in the face. That was true. I mean, of course, it's true. He said it the other night on Drunk Turkey. But he says that the reason why he knows that is because her nose was broken. So that would lead you to believe that. So I do believe that some of these well, they did say that they fought for their life. So I figured we would read through this article here if it'll let me. Usually sometimes the Idaho Statesman hates me and they'll be like, pay for this article. Okay. But they're not going to make me do that today. So I'm going to read through this and then let me know if anything sounds new to you and whenever we get into the interview, especially. But this is all going to be kind of new. So basically, what we're going to read over is the order on defendant's motion to strike the death penalty and adapt other necessary procedures. And this is just the judge's order on that. So we'll read through here. So if you guys don't mind, take a second, hit the like button. That would be great. Before we get really into it, I'll throw the link in the chat for the membership. If you guys would like to become a member, we'd love to have you become a member. Hey, DM. And I'll just pin that to the top. That way I don't have to even worry about it. Okay, so for the second time in as many weeks, the judge in charge of Brian Kohlberger's upcoming murder trial rejected arguments from the defense to remove a possible death sentence for the defendant if he is found guilty of killing 4 University of Idaho students in 2022. Judge Stephen Hippler of Idaho's 4th Judicial District on Tuesday denied the defense's latest request to strike the death penalty as a sentencing option in the high-profile case based on allegations that prosecutors have failed to turn over evidence on time to Kohlberger's attorneys ahead of his trial. She was basically complaining she doesn't want just a Rolodex that they gave her of where everything was at. She wants it categorized in another way as well, which they don't have to do that. It's just crazy. His public defense team, led by Ann Taylor, argued in filing and in a hearing earlier this month that delays to deliver documents through the legal process known as discovery bordered on making her ineffective in mounting a defense for Kohlberger on 4 counts of first-degree murder. He even said some smart aleck comments in here and the documents, and I love Judge Hippler for that. He pretty much, and I could pull it up. He said something along the lines of, "Well, she took on another case. She told me she could handle this, And I was like, oh, like, yeah. So he made some jabs. There were a lot of footnotes. So Hitler's decision was the 13th time he has ruled against the defense's efforts to drop the possibility of a jury sending Kohlberger to death row if he's convicted. Last week, Hitler denied a separate push to by Kohlberger's defense to pull the death penalty because of Kohlberger's autism spectrum disorder diagnosis. Because the defendant has failed to show a discovery violation or due process violation by the state, sanctions are not warranted, Hitler wrote in his Tuesday order. Defendant has not shown by bad faith by the state with regard to discovery production. While the discovery is indeed voluminous, the court does not find that manner in which the state produced it violates legal precedent or otherwise constitute misconduct. Kohlberger, 30, is accused of fatally stabbing the 4 U of I undergraduates at an off-campus Moscow home in November 2022. At the time, Kohlberger was a graduate student studying criminology at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, 9 miles east of the Moscow campus. The victims pictured here are Kaylee Goncalves, 21, of Rathdrum, and Madison Mogan, 21, of Coeur d'Alene. Junior Xana Kernodle, 20, of Post Falls, and freshman Ethan Chapin, 20, of Mount Vernon, Washington. The 3 women lived at an off-campus home with 2 female roommates who went physically unharmed in the attack, while Chapin was Kernodle's boyfriend and stayed over for the night. Kohlberger was arrested in late December 2022 after nearly a 7-week manhunt that garnered national and international attention. A judge entered a not guilty plea on Kohlberger's behalf at his May 2023 arraignment. And prosecutors issued their intent to seek the death penalty a month later. Kohlberger's capital murder trial is scheduled to start with jury selection in late July in Boise and is expected to extend into November. I wonder if they'll use all the time that they said that they need. Probably, I guess. Kohlberger's murder trial carved in stone, it says. Idaho is one of 27 U.S. states with the death penalty, though correctional officials haven't executed a prisoner in more than a dozen years. No, they did. Governor Brad Little approved a law earlier this year that makes Idaho the only state with a firing squad as its lead execution method, which the parents of victim, Kaylee Goncalves vocally supported. A federal judge in Idaho on Tuesday, I just actually had this article pulled up to read to you guys, so I'm glad it's actually included in this one. But listen to this. This is kind of, I don't know how long it'll last. Kohlberger hasn't even went to trial yet, but as of right now, a federal judge in Idaho on Tuesday blocked executions in the state until prison officials make upgrades to provide media witnesses with access to concealed room where the execution team prepares and administers lethal injection drugs. The state switch to the firing squad takes effect in July 2026. To avoid that future possibility, however, Kohlberger's attorneys tried to invoke a recent court filing from Lori Vallow Daybell's Idaho murder case. In 2023, an East Idaho judge decided the state could not pursue the death penalty if she was convicted as a sanction for repeat discovery violations. Prosecutors dropped a heavy volume of evidence on Vallow Daybell's defense 3 weeks ahead of her trial, where she was found guilty of killing her 2 children. The jury instead sentenced her to life in prison without parole. It's abundantly clear that at any possible opportunity, the Kohlberger defense seems like mission number 1 to them is getting the death penalty off the table. Josh Ritter, a Los Angeles-based criminal defense attorney who hosts the Courtroom Confidential podcast, previously told the Idaho Statesman. In February, Kohlberger's defense filed to remove the death penalty over allegations of late discovery. Prosecutors objected and denied they had missed deadlines for turning over requested documents to the defense. I understand the court has said this is a trial date. It's carved in stone, Taylor told the court at a hearing earlier this month. I've done my best to adhere to it, and I'm here now saying that the death penalty needs to be struck so that there's fairness to Mr. Kohlberger. Well, allegedly, he didn't show any fairness to his victims. With all due respect, Ann Taylor. Judges are granted wide discretion on how to sanction attorneys for discovery violations if they are deemed warranted. For example, Hitler could have chosen to limit evidence or witness testimony that prosecutors disclose past deadline, give the defense more time on their deadlines, or push the trial out. He also could drop the death penalty, as Judge Stephen Boyce in Idaho's 7th Judicial District decided in an unprecedented move in the state for Vallow Daybell's case. But Hippler indicated at this month's hearing that he was likely to show restraint over the defense's request. The skeptic would look at this and say, well, this is what Judge Boyce did when there was a last-minute discovery issue. Hippler told Taylor, this isn't a last-minute discovery issue. And it seems like this could be viewed as being calculated to be a method to get the death penalty off the table by waiting until the end to bring the court's attention the contention that you can't get through all the discovery. So he's saying, you're not trying this. So basically what she's trying to do is still continue to say, I can't get through all of this discovery. There's just too much to get through. And she has to personally go through it herself. It even said in the court documents, like, she hasn't tried to reach out to hire more people. She hasn't tried to do anything other than pick up another case. It's not good for her. So Kohlberger's trial also remains more than 2 months out rather than a matter of weeks, as was the situation at the time with Vallow Daybell's trial. So the Kohlberger situation doesn't fit into the same box, Newton said. They don't have the speedy trial throttle on the back end, and there's still time on the other end, so you have neither issue. Hippler acknowledged the same at the hearing. The circumstances were completely different, he told Taylor. I'm not saying our circumstances are identical, but it's a due process issue, she responded. This is the appropriate remedy, and we're asking the court to make the orders for the state disclosure and to strike death. In his Tuesday order, Hippler issued none of the possible sanctions against the state. He acknowledged the amount of records prosecutors produced was voluminous, but it's not the state's job to point to those that are relevant to Kohlberger's defense, he concluded. They don't have to point out everything that could help Brian Kohlberger's defense. That's not their job. Defendant asked for everything, and everything is what he received. Hippler wrote, defendant cannot demand everything under the sun and then complain about the weight of all the planets. And that's going on a shirt. I had that highlighted in the documents. He said, defendant asked for everything, and everything is what he received. Defendant cannot demand everything under the sun and then complain about the weight of all the planets. I like how he said that, like, just the sky reference, kind of like the night sky, driving, looking at the stars. I don't know. Kohlberger is next set to appear before Hippler at the Ada County Courthouse in Boise for a hearing on May 15th. The hearing will be streamed live at Idaho's 4th District Court, and we'll have it live here, of course. We will be live with it. And welcome in, everybody. I was on the other page. She had almost 3 years. Yeah, baby girl, she sure did. That's what he's saying too. He's like, we're way into 2 years. Like, that's what he was saying in the documents. Like, he even said, I think I read it to you, actually. This was done. Okay. Yeah, that was that part. But yeah, he did say that she was able to pick up another case. And she didn't, ask for anybody, like, it says right here, his lead counsel insisted that she be allowed to take on a second high-profile capital case despite the voluminous discovery in this case. Further at oral argument, lead counsel indicated that her practice is to personally review all the discovery herself rather than rely on associates and staff to review materials to cut through the less relevant information and point to what materials need review by lead counsel. Like, yeah, why wouldn't you have your people, like, what's his face, have him at the office, because that's what he's supposed to be doing, is going through evidence and pointing out what you need to see. Like, that's what you hire people for. You're the lead prosecutor. There's way more things that you should be doing. You should just have someone should be bringing you everything that's like direct evidence, anything that is going to help your case, any exculpatory evidence, anything. I love Hippler. I just really like him. I like his sayings. I like everything about him. What did he say that one time? Every day and twice on, like, every day of the week and twice on Sunday or something. Yeah, he's pretty funny to me. I think he is. So I was watching through this, so let me rewind it back. Because Ashley Banfield, she has her own channel. I don't know if you guys know that. I'm gonna put the link to this video in the chat. It's an hour and 5 minutes. I might speed it up just a little because sometimes it's a little slow, but sometimes it's a little fast. It just depends, you know? But we'll go to 1.25 just to see. But that's her video. It's Idaho student murder, Steve Goncalves breaks open gut-wrenching new details. So this is on, like I said, her channel, not on News Nation, so she could be a little more open over here. And she did have an interview with him. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see it, but she did do one last night on News Nation with Steve. So I don't know if this was afterwards or what, but he's wearing the same clothes. So this was either before or after.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Drop Dead Serious. I'm Ashley
Okay.
Banfield, and I've got a bonus episode for you today. It's very special. A lot of breaking news that I've just discovered about the Idaho student murders. We've kind of been living under a rock, honestly, for 2.5 years because of the gag order. This one's been pretty broad, and much of what happened in Idaho is unknown to us. But slowly, these documents are dropping, and we're learning really kind of alarming details about what happened at 1122 King Road. And I just had a very long interview with Steve Goncalves, Kaylee Goncalves' dad, and he has told me some things I never heard before. For instance, he's just told me that his daughter was beaten very badly by this killer, struck in the head, in the face multiple times. Her nose was broken, and the blows were so severe that Steve says that his daughter could easily have died from the blows to her face, let alone the knife wounds that she sustained from this knife-wielding, sadistic killer.
Okay, so that to me says that he didn't just hit her once in the face. Like he hit her multiple times. And I don't know. I can't, I feel like I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of how that even goes down. Like I wonder like if I can just imagine like her facial bones being broken. And I know what that feels like. That's a horrendous pain.
That's something I never knew before. Documents also dropping in the case telling us that the girls, Bethany, Dylan, Maddie, and Kaylee, all got together at 2:00 in the morning upstairs in Kaylee's room. They were all having sort of a girl chat.
Okay, I won't pause it for a while, but I do want to point something out here. So they were in Kaylee's room that night at 2:00 in the morning. They were in Kaylee's room. So just to go back to the timeline, Kaylee first calls Jack, her ex, at 2:26 is when the phone calls and the text messages start. And I believe they're 2:44. They're still calling. I'm just looking. Okay, the final one is at 2:52. So to me, that would almost be like, okay, like everybody's probably goes to bed after that. I don't know. Like if they were going to stay in Maddie's room, like Haley and Maddie were going to sleep in Maddie's bed, I would think that they would all be hanging out in Maddie's room. Right. So in my mind, I'm just still stuck on maybe Kaylee was sleeping in her own room. And that's why they were hanging out in there. And then Maddie got up and, walked out of Kaylee's room and went into her room. Maybe she didn't shut the doors all the way. And that's why Kaylee was able to see, into Maddie's room and see that there was somebody in there. But they were, texting Jack at the same time. And then Maddie ends up calling like Dylan or, you know what I mean? Like there was a communication in with that time too, all in the same time period. So it's just wanted to give you that update.
And they were contemplating going out again, leaving the house and going out back to the food truck, just having another secondary night out at 2 a.m. And I just think about what could have happened if only. Maybe they would have been back before 4 a.m. when the murder struck. Maybe not. But it's they decided ultimately not to bother. And we knew that because of a call to an Uber driver. Another detail that absolutely gobsmacked on this one. All this time, I have thought that the girls and the friends called 911 because they couldn't open Xana's door. And they couldn't get Xana and Ethan to respond to the knocking. Xana, wake up. Ethan, wake up. As it turns out, Xana's door was open. And we know this now because of a document that's dropped where Bethany describes running, frightened, having spotted someone who looks like Brian Koberger in the house that night, running frightened down to Bethany's room in the basement. But running past the hallway where you could kind of peer in down the end of the hall, Xana's room and saw Xana lying on the floor with her feet towards the door, head towards the wall. And she thought she was just drunk and passed out. But she ran past Xana dead. Now she's quite a ways away.
I'm going to show you guys that layout again because I was wrong. When I think I was wrong when I was describing the way that Xana was laying the other night, and so I just want to correct myself because I wasn't, I guess, fully comprehending what I was reading. But so this is basically inside of Xana's bedroom. This door would have been open, most likely. This door would have been open because they saw her. Her head would have been towards this wall here. And then her feet would have been towards the door. So she would have been laying like, like where it says 7 feet, 3, like that. She would have been laying like that direction, but out further towards like the door. So I just wanted to correct that. Okay.
It's hard for me to guess the feet, but maybe 20, 30 feet down the hall and through the open door. And that also Bethany saw Xana lying in that position. And they did not obviously think of the horrors that were really, had transpired in that room. They thought that she was just passed out drunk. But it is incredible to now know that Xana's door is open. The killer left that door open. He didn't shut it behind him and lock the bodies in the room. No, they were there. They were visible. And 2 of the surviving roommates saw Xana's body, but did not know it was a dead body. They just thought she was drunk and passed out. And they were afraid. They were so afraid. They didn't even want to come back upstairs. I mean, that's what's so incredible, is that the girls were downstairs. They locked the door in Bethany's room. They spent the night, and they were too afraid even the next morning to come back upstairs, and they called their friends to come over. And one of the friends came over, Hunter, and he went upstairs and went to the kitchen and got a kitchen knife, fearing there might still be someone in the house. That's the level of fear. That's why the girls didn't come back up and inspect, going up to Maddie's room, Kaylee's room, Xana's room. They thought there might still be someone in the house, and they could not understand why their roommates weren't getting back to them. And it's that Hunter who made the discovery and shielded the girls from seeing anything closer than what they'd already seen. Okay, so that's another revelation. And then the fact that Brian Koberger, according to Steve Goncalves, some people who worked in the classroom with Brian Koberger reported back to Steve Goncalves that Brian took the day off after the murders. So the murders happened on a Saturday to Sunday morning. And then you see the selfie at 10 a.m., Brian Koberger standing in a shower. And it's the Monday that he apparently called in sick or took the day off from working in the classroom. It's another detail we never knew.
Well, when was he going to sleep? Right? I mean, he had to sleep. Probably exhausted.
And then another, this one hurts. It seems to be a weird trend. Sick people go after crime victims. We've seen it. We've seen it with Shanann Watts' family. They've been tormented for years. She was murdered. Pregnant Shanann Watts was murdered by her husband, Chris Watts. Their 2 little girls were murdered by dad, stuffed in oil tanks. And the family of Shanann has been relentlessly and ruthlessly attacked by online trolls. That there's just this weird trend, right? Turns out the Goncalveses are feeling this too. And one of the online attackers, is a school shooter from Georgia. So the worlds collide. All of this is coming, but I wanted to read a couple of things from court documents that I thought were so incredibly telling. So this is the quote from a court document about the fact that the girls were all chatting, having a girl talk up on the 3rd floor and contemplated going out at 2 a.m., leaving the house again at 2 a.m. At approximately 2 a.m., they met up in Kaylee's bedroom and talked for a while before going to bed. The 5th roommate, Xana Kernodle, who was out with her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, was not home yet. The roommates debated going out to the food truck for a late night snack, prompting Dylan to send a text at 2:10 a.m. to an Uber driver that she knew to see if he was driving. Ultimately, however, the girls decided just to go to bed. I don't know why that one feels so heartbreaking to me, because I think just if they had gone out and stayed out even later, course of history would have changed. Here's something else. This is more of the court documents regarding.
Wouldn't that have been amazing, though? If Brian Koberger would have walked in this house thinking that all these people were in there and there was nobody in there. That would have been a good story. I wish they would have went back out, but they would have been back by the time I feel like he would have got there anyway. I mean, they were just 5 minutes from the food truck.
Both of the girls, Dylan and Bethany, seeing Xana prone, lying on her floor. This is how the documents describe it. Dylan again tried calling Kaylee and Xana, but neither responded. Dylan then exited her room and began running towards Bethany's room. On her way, she noticed Xana lying on the floor of her bedroom with her head towards the wall and her feet towards the door. Dylan thought Xana was drunk. Once Dylan arrived at Bethany's room, they locked the door and both made additional unanswered calls to the other roommates. It's amazing. That's the worst, she thought, right? Oh, my roommate passed out drunk and there's crazy stuff going on in the house and I'm scared. I don't like this. Going downstairs to Bethany's room. So the next morning, there's a lot of texting that went on in Bethany's room, and ultimately they ended up falling asleep. The girls had a lot to drink. They wake up, and at 11:50 a.m., this is 6 minutes before the 911 call, by the way, Dylan calls her friends Emily Alant and Hunter Johnson because she wants them to come over and help. She's too afraid to go upstairs and see what's going on, you know. So this is what the court filing reads about this. Emily and Hunter met Dylan and Bethany at the bottom floor of the house. Together, Dylan, Bethany, and Hunter started to walk up the stairs to the second floor. When they reached the second floor, Hunter went to the kitchen to grab a kitchen knife. So this next part that I'm going to tell you is from Dylan's grand jury testimony. When Hunter came back out, Dylan, quote, and this is Dylan talking, saw Xana again for a split second and just started bawling because she thought she just I don't even know. I thought maybe she was still just drunk and asleep on the floor. Bethany also saw Xana lying on the floor. Hunter told Dylan and Bethany to get out. Emily, who had started up the stairs, also turned around after Hunter instructed her not to come any further. They both went outside. Shortly, Hunter exited the house and told them to call 911. He was pale white and mentioned something about someone being unconscious. So they did not bang on a closed door. I imagined that 911 call, and I could hear Hunter saying, Dylan, or rather, Ethan, Xana, and you can hear that. You can hear the knocking. I'm thinking they're knocking on Xana's locked door. They are not.
I think that's what we all kind of thought, because that's what we were led to believe in a way. We were led to believe that, well, you know, Hunter Johnson found them. But I thought the story was he peeked in through the door. He couldn't get in the door because the door was closed. There was a body or something in the way. Couldn't get in the room. And so he, I guess, forced himself in. And that's when he saw, you know, Xana or something on the floor. This is a different story now that we're getting. Just,
it's possible they're knocking.
I mean, it might have been the same story, but maybe it's just the door's open. You know what I mean? But it makes all the difference because you could see her compared to if you couldn't see her. I don't know.
On the wall, way down the hallway, they see Xana lying and they're banging on the hallway. Guys, wake up. And it's only, I think, Hunter, according to Steve Goncalves, it's only Hunter who ends up going close enough and getting in and seeing his friend, Ethan, who is now, you know, tucked out of view. It's only Xana's body that's in view of the doorway. Maybe it was dark in there. Maybe all the blinds were pulled and they couldn't see the blood. But there was so much blood that it was leaking out the foundation. So it is just a remarkable sequence of events that we all thought we knew, and we did not. I had this incredible conversation with Steve Goncalves about all of these things and also how he is doing, because we are now in the final stretch. Steve, when these documents drop and just layers of information that we've been waiting for suddenly are in our fingertips, do you and Christy and the family get advance knowledge? Do you get a heads up it's coming? Does someone walk through it with you and help it to land in a more sensitive way?
There's times where they will reach out, especially when they know it's something that's a little hits home. If it's going to say stuff about Kaylee, I would expect them to come out. But there's been some back and forth a little bit to tell them, prepare us more, because our phones are going to ring. We're going to see people. I work at a hospital, so there's probably 4,000 or 5,000 people there. So, it's good to let us know what's going on so we don't accidentally say something that doesn't make any sense, because we don't know what's coming out and somebody's just seen it and they take advantage of you not knowing what's going on, or they assume and you just say something wrong because you not fully understand what's going on. So it's back and forth, but they've gotten better, and I really like the team. They're good human beings. Everybody that's been working there is really impressive. And
that's the prosecution team?
Yeah, the prosecution team and the investigators, everybody that's involved in this case has been really, really good to us. And,
do you have a liaison, someone in particular who's your point man?
There's a victim advocate, but I'll be honest, they don't work when you once you leave the county that you're in. That victim advocate doesn't know the court like they normally would. So a lot of times we hear before they hear. There's times where we've actually contacted them about things that are going on, and they're like, no, that's not the case. And we're like, fortunately, it is. It was an ex parte hearing. And we're like, are you guys going to the ex parte? What's going on about it? And they won't even, because they're not supposed to be there, so they were never informed. And we're looking at the doc 3 or 4 times a day at least.
They also don't know Steve Goncalves. And I'll be honest with you, look, I've done this job for a long time, and everybody's different. Everyone processes being a family member of a crime victim differently. And even in this instance, some of the family members are very separated from this process. They don't want the updates. They may not even come to all of the trial. So it's just everyone processes differently. Do you ever think about that in terms of how the other families and you are all going to get together in August and July and September and October, and how you're going to be together in this process?
I mean, a little bit. I've met people, just like last time at court, I met some people that are part of the case that I'd never seen before, some parents of the survivors. So, I have 5 children, so I expect people to behave differently. I expect people to have different ways to process. It's nothing new to me. I've said this before. My brother just reminded me, he's like, our name means built for battle. Goncalves means built for battle. And maybe that's just the way I was built. I wasn't going to let this turn into a case where it went cold, or there wasn't somebody. There was times where people would call me and say, will you do an interview? And I'd say, I can't. And they didn't even do a story on it. And I remember going back and watching, I said, I wonder what the story's going to be. But they didn't do a story because they didn't have someone to talk to. So I said, you know what my daughter's gone through, Maddie Mae went through, the least I can do is make myself sit down and communicate and keep people focused on the case. And I don't take it lightly that Anne stretched this out, made me go across the state of Idaho, 7 hours each way. I don't take that lightly. And Shannon, my lawyer, told her job is to get everyone to forget. Her job is to stretch this out so long that the witnesses don't even remember what happened, or they're not crisp on that stand. So nobody says you have to sit back and take it. So I'm not going to take it. I'm going to come forward and I'm going to keep it fresh. And if there's a chance to keep it in the media and keep people focused on it and say, hey, what is going on? Did that guy get away with it? They get back into the story and put pressure on, everybody that we hold this case to the, fullest extent of the law. And, people don't like to talk about it, but sometimes, people have to pay the ultimate price for the crime that they committed.
It's you just mentioned it's, 6-7 hours to drive to Boise. Are you and the family all planning to be there for the entire duration? It's going to be about 3-4 month trial.
Yeah, we won't be able to do it like that. We have, grandbabies and everyone's got their big family. So we'll rotate, and that's a lot of time off from work. So I'll fly back and forth. I'll work with the hospital to make sure everything's in place. But yeah, I don't expect everyone to be able to be there every day, but we'll always have somebody for the family directly there. And then get some of that information from the prosecution team one-on-one, and then relay that back. That's the thing, is there's nothing like getting information directly from the court, because then you don't have to guess, and then that's why I've always said, is like, you guys don't have to tell me inside information, but if you can give us talking points that are safe, that are accurate, and, this is what's going to happen going forward, then, and we can point people back to the court docs, and, that's obviously the best information you're ever going to get. But for a good 2 years, we had no court docs. So look, everything was sealed.
I mean, you've been kept in the dark, and we've been kept in the dark, as we should be in a lot of this circumstances, not in all of them. I'm not a big fan of hooded justice. I'm a fan of open process. It's what makes us different than a lot of other countries I've been to. But I just always think about how much harder it is for you and the people who deserve to know, the people who shouldn't be in the dark, and for this long of a process. So, I mean, I'm sending you a big virtual hug here, just to let you know that we are aware that you are going through more than most people can understand. And that brings me to what we're learning today. I mean, more details I did not expect to hear, and they're kind of confusing, I'll be honest with you. The story that the surviving roommates tell in these documents is that they actually saw Xana. They saw her lying down in her room, so the door had to have been open. All this time, we've all been imagining that Xana and Ethan were behind a locked door, and that's why no one could get to them, and thought there must be something wrong. We'll call 911. Was this a surprise to you to hear this detail?
Yeah. I actually talked to Hunter a little bit back very beginning, and I remember him saying something about the doors, and I, not knowing the details, thought he was speaking of the outside door. So now, now looking back, I said, oh, the door being open, he was referring to the bedroom door, not that outside door, because there was reports of the outside door being open. And I was like, okay, so that's true. That's how you can get.
Oh, no, I got the report. Hold on a second here. Just open this in another tab. That's not it. Hold on. I've got it somewhere right here. Okay. So this is the video, but Idaho murders. This is from December 8th, 2022. Slain University student's neighbor says front door left wide open after attacks. And it was at like 8:30. The neighbor told Fox News this week that the front door, which opens to the level where the 2 other roommates were unharmed, was wide open around 8:30 a.m. on November 13th. So Banfield, come on now, Banfield. You should have knew that. She said, no. The neighbor said that front door was open. I want to know why. That front door was never closed. I'm curious.
Get things wrong, Somebody tells you the door's open,
Dylan
you
would
assume
walk
it's the
right by
front door,
that
and it was
door.
actually the bedroom door. So, yeah, we tried to stay away from anything, but that was new information. That was an eye opener. But yeah, I can, you know what? I just imagine her booking her tail off, going down those steps as fast as she possibly could, seeing something at the side of her eyes, and just running all the way down the steps. So I'm sure she's seen something, but it wasn't like a slow motion, like looking and staring and poking through.
Yeah.
At least my girls wouldn't be too scared to do it.
Well, and the way she describes it, as as little information as we have, is that she thought this was Xana on the floor, just drunk. I mean, look, these are college kids. This is what they do. The worst thing that maybe their minds might go to is that somebody may have had too much to drink, or God forbid, might have OD'd. But no one's mind would have ever gone to what actually happened. And even then, the level of fear was really high. That Dylan is running downstairs to Bethany's room, scared in the middle of the night. She's seen a guy in the house, but the level of fear, which is high, is nowhere near what was really happening. That's the thing, that 2020 hindsight is all great.
Exactly.
But in that moment, this kid is just, she's still a kid, right? I still think of these guys as kids.
Oh, I know when I was 19, I made some stupid, crazy decisions that make no reflection on the person I am today, because I just didn't have life experience. So I give the same grace to anybody who's probably under the age of 25, to be honest, especially for guys. I know girls start making more logical decisions earlier in life than at least I did. But I know guys can, get a guy in a motorcycle or a pickup truck out in the dirt road, then you'll question their logic. So yeah.
So the other surprising detail that just gave me a lot of pause was the fact that the girls were all upstairs in Kaylee's room, talking. The roommates, Bethany and Dylan and Maddie and Kaylee, at 2:00 in the morning. They'd all been out. They'd all come back, except Xana hadn't come back yet with Ethan. And they were all talking, as college kids do. Night is still young, at 2 a.m. And they were thinking of going back out again, going back out to maybe go to the food truck and get, another round of late night food. And I just was sort of gobsmacked by this moment of how possibly things could have been different. Have you gone over this sort of theory in your mind?
You know what? I have, but it's hard I can't go there, really. I don't try to think of all the what ifs. What I try to think is what's the positive aspect of this? And to me, it makes that timeline that much tighter. It proves that DM was in the house, sent a text to the same driver that Kaylee used, which is a friend of the house that they've all used. It backs up all these narratives and things that I know to be factual. And it helps put another piece in the puzzle. And that's one thing I've always said is, if you're innocent, you want the evidence to come out, because the evidence is going to prove it's not going to fit you. You're going to be able to be like, well, they got all this evidence. I'm innocent, so it's not going to fit me. So let's just rip through this evidence and figure out where I can say that's not me. But in this case, that's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to get everything tossed out, because every piece of information, whether it's DM contacting the driver and saying, hey, are you still around? Which backs up a story that, let's be honest, the 19-year-old didn't know they're going to go through her phone. They're going to track it. There's this CAS system. They're going to go all through this house. Know when they went upstairs, went downstairs. They didn't know any of this. And they're not talking about cleaning up a murder scene. They're not talking about what do we got to do. They're literally just girls being girls, sitting on a bed, talking, laughing, talking about, let's go get some food. Let's not go to bed. It's 2 a.m. Let's go have some more fun. And I'm sure they were very close to doing just that. And it's unfortunately they didn't. But on the
I mean, that's probably what it was too. And they were probably all talking about going and getting food. One of them's texting the driver, hey, are you driving right now? And then Kaylee gets this bright idea. She's going to text Jack, and then she has Maddie start texting and calling Jack. It's all in the same time span, It's all between that 2 and 3 o'clock hour.
on the one side it makes that house a little bit clearer and people know a little bit more what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, the what ifs are hard on this scenario as well because it's 2 a.m. And if they'd gone back out to the food truck, they might have been back by 3 or 3:30. And this monster, his timeline was 4 a.m. So it may not have made a difference, but it is just sort of an alarming thought that there was an idea to maybe leave the house. And who knows what might have happened. There's also details that you've learned from, your conversations about the situation that presented itself on the third floor when this killer perpetrated his crimes. You've learned that Maddie was killed first, and then your daughter. What was the scenario that was laid out for you?
And we kind of thought that.
We wanted to know where she was at and how this happened as much as they would be able to share with us. And they said she was in bed, and we're like, her bed, and they're like, no. So we're like, Maddie, because that's not unusual. They crash out in our house all the time together. 4 or 5 of the girls sleep in the same bed. I don't know how they do it. But so we got those details, and then we just, kept asking, and, it's the last moments of your daughter's life, and that some of that information could be helpful to the case. So, you want to make sure that enough that you could be helpful if there was a certain thing in the room that was missing. Things like that. Do we have pictures that they don't have access to that, Maddie Mae's room lays out like layouts of the room, if it changed, things like that. So yeah, we learned that they went for Maddie first, and then Kaylee woke up. Kaylee showed signs of fighting and, or a fight. I don't know really what somebody waking up with somebody stabbing you, how much fighting you can really do. But then this monster struck her multiple times, and those were injuries that I was told that only she had in that room. I don't know about the other people downstairs, but that was one of those details where we kept to ourselves because people would come forward and say, "Oh, I know exactly what happened that night." And we'd be like, "So describe what happened to Kaylee," and they couldn't do it. So that was something that helped us, and I really appreciate Mabbit for sharing that information. And I know a lot of people screamed and yelled and put a bit of pressure on her, but I give her a hug and tell her thank you 100 times over for putting some finality in the last moments. It's not fair for parents to have to wait 2 to 3 years to understand what happened to their kids. Talk about cruel and unusual punishment. I mean, nothing's crueler than to be told that you don't get to know what happened to your child, and all these other people in this courtroom get to know, and they're complete strangers. They don't even know your kid, and they get to know all about this. I'm not a fan of that, but
I'm always hoping that when I learn things, I'm learning it second after you, obviously. I've always felt that it's just so unfair if family members hear from the press details that no one had shared with them prior. And it does happen. I mean, it does. It's not a perfect system. But this was a call you had with the coroner, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah, multiple calls. We had more than one.
Did she share any other details?
Yeah, she did share some details, but those are, they have to come out to me and we have to talk about it. And then, so I don't want to say something that was just words on a phone, I'd have to know more details before I could share all the stuff. But I guess the best I could do at the time was say that Kaylee's and Maddie's didn't match their damage. I wasn't trying to say one had more or one was other. I just was trying to say that they don't match, and I could share that information, but I still wanted to respect the courtroom and respect the process of this. But
it's crazy because they're the only 2 victims that had, like, when they were talking about the wounds, their wounds were the same. Like they didn't say that exactly. They said they were I could find my document on it. But Ethan had a certain wound, and then Xana had like a certain wound, and then Kaylee and Maddie had the same. And it was like from like sharp force injury or something like along those lines. That might have been Ethan, but I'll have to look at my document. We'll find it.
I'm not going to reward 2.5 years of dragging this on. Eventually you got to just let the truth come out. And, that's part of the reason why I start letting some things come out that I can, because Hitler's definitely opened up.
Okay, I found that really quick. Huh. So Ethan, it said sharp forced injuries. Xana, injuries caused by an edged weapon. And then Maddie and Kaylee both had visible stab wounds.
The sealed docs at a much better pace that makes you feel like that we'll at least get to this courtroom and have some idea what's going on. We don't have to sit there and get hit with unknowns over and over until you can't even process it anymore. I mean, the whole court process has nothing to do with the parents, has nothing to do with the victims. It's all about the person who did this and their rights. The fastest way
that's Judge Hitler you're talking about, who's taken over the case from Judge John.
Judge Hitler. Yeah. He took it over, and he took it over with vengeance, and he had a mission to get this thing back on track, because realistically, we went 2 years without a schedule. I mean, they would literally be in that courtroom and saying, what do we got to do to get to a schedule? And then they'd say, well, you're going to have to make decisions on the schedule. And then we would leave, and they'd say, well, we're going to have to make a schedule. And so we're not doing that anymore. We got somebody here who can make decisions right there in the courtroom. And I appreciate that. And it's something that we had to have. We had to have somebody come in there and start getting through this and setting some, timeline. So that's a positive. But
I think you mentioned some of the details that the coroner. I had a conversation with the coroner early in the case, and she shared with us that Xana had some very severe defensive wounds. Like Xana had fought very, very aggressively with this killer, and I think that the coroner may have shared something with you about some of the injuries that Kaylee had, right?
Yeah, she did, and she was struck in the face. Her nose was broken. There was multiple hits, from what I've been told, and I'm trying to be careful with my words, but the blows that he sustained delivered to her would have killed her.
Really?
Wasn't he a boxer at one point? Wasn't he boxing and stuff at one point? I mean, the dude was running a 6-minute mile, and he was still out running with his little buddy. They would run at night. I wonder how strong Kohlberger is. Because you can be a small dude and pack a punch. I mean, pack some serious heat. My dad was extremely small dude and strongest man I ever met. He was so small, though.
If the knife wounds hadn't, the blows would have?
Yeah.
Was there any other detail that the coroner shared?
Yeah, there's definitely other details, but I'm going to let them have the opportunity to release that information, because I don't want to.
There's even more.
I don't want to overstep them, but it sounds like it's about to come out. So I'm looking forward to that. Anything
that you can share that wouldn't compromise the case?
That's the thing. It's why I always ask for more communication, because it's things like this where we're like, you can tell us a safe thing to bring up, and you can tell us when this stuff's going to come out, or you could just let us figure it out on our own. Because I told him, you met a father who's not going to. I'm not going to remain silent. Not over this. My daughter would expect me to stand up for her, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'll go to jail if that's what it comes down to. If you're going to arrest me because you need me to be silent and think I'm going to protect the guy who killed my kid, I'm never going to protect him. Once I knew that he was guilty, and that wasn't right off the bat. It took me a considerable amount of information and facts before I made a decision that, all right, they got the right guy. And then at that point, it was just, what can I do to help? How can we get this over, get this process started, let people know that the evidence and the facts are there, and then we can just get this done. Because
there was a time I did have a conversation with you, a couple of conversations, I'd say like a year ago, where I feel like you really were concerned that he was going to get off. Like you were starting to really question the evidence, the case against him, the case that Ann Taylor was building. Is that accurate to say that you started to really fear?
Yeah, there was fear. There was such a lack of leadership in the courtroom. There was things that were just going all over the place, and nothing was really getting done. So yeah, I got nervous there. I had insight on things that are still not public. I knew a lot of different things that I just didn't understand why you would hide such strong evidence. And so, you start wondering, is something else going on? Do they just want this case to go away to where, let's just get it out of the community? protect the businesses. And once we're out of the community, we'll make a plea bargain and keep everything sealed. Maybe once the plea bargain's done, some of it comes out, but by then nobody even cares, and that's just a father just trying to struggle with how this process works. And maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was nervous, or just wasting my time worrying about things that weren't going to happen. But I didn't know. I just knew that the case shouldn't be going in the direction that it was going. And I was like, we got to do something. And, I feel like it got back, but it took leaving that community, which was something we thought we wanted to keep it there. So, but in the end, is what was needed.
Let's talk about this detail that you've learned about Brian Koberger. We were all shocked to see the photograph, the selfie that was snapped just hours after the murders in front of his shower. But you've learned what he did after that. What was it?
Yeah, I learned about a tally of some girls that were having conflicts and feeling like he was doing things that were making them very nervous, following them outside of the classroom, standing in front of the door, forcing them to go around him, basically forcing interactions. And they were just trying to do everything to avoid him. So how I understand it, they communicated this to management structure there. They said document things. They started documenting this tally that they put together. And from that,
what is that called? You're saying a tally? What was?
So they had a tally going because
I thought
he's known. This isn't like out of the realm of possibilities because he's known to be creepy McCreeperson at the bar. Okay, let's just admit it. We've heard that there was like a note on the back that was like, if Brian Koberger comes in here, he's the guy that drinks the Jack and Coke at the end of the bar every night. You know what I mean? When he comes in and he flirts with all the girls, that's a little bit inappropriate. I think that's just his personality. I think he's just socially extremely awkward. I really believe that.
It was called like the Brian tally is what it was described to me as.
I'm not sure. Is this the place he works?
Yes. This is the classroom in which he's, a teacher aide in,
That's the name of the classroom. I hadn't heard the name before, but that's what this is. So this is basically the classroom where he is working. He's making everybody feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. And the tally is when they went to, I don't know if it was HR, but they went to people in the school and said, hey, I noticed something, this girl knows something, but it's still kind of hearsay. So then they're saying, document it, the time, the place, the things, a witness, those type of things. So they did do that, and that was going on, and that's how we found out that he missed school Monday after taking.
Same thing happened at his high school. That's why he had to go to the HVAC program. He couldn't go to the ROTC or whatever it was because there was girls in that program, and apparently he was saying or doing some inappropriate things, and it had to do with females because we could read between the lines of the guidance counselor that was talking about it. Now we're hearing, another job has a problem with the females that are there.
In that photo where
and in each one, he's in a position of almost power because they did say when at the school, when you're in the ROTC program, like you monitor the halls and stuff, like you're somebody, I guess, there.
Doesn't look sick to me, but what does that give him? That gives him a whole day to like go over figuring out how they're responding to what he's done. So he could sit there, gloat, and Google search, do the same things we were doing to try to figure out what was going on.
Or continue, if he's the guilty party, continue cleaning up, continue making sure that there's not a trace left.
Well, I hope and I suspect that the searches that he did before the 911 call will do him in. The activities that he did before anyone knew what happened, those will be the final nail in this case.
Well, for a criminology PhD, doesn't seem very smart. I mean, who buys a knife and a sheath and a sharpener online and has it delivered to your parents' house? And who goes after a killing where the sheath is left behind and the murder weapon's disposed of to find a replacement knife and sheath online? Who does that?
I think even if you're somewhat intelligent, your human instinct, you start racking your brain and you started worrying, like, what if if the cops knock on my door and say, well, we couldn't help but notice you bought one of these. Where's yours at? You wanted to have one. You want to be like, here it is right here. It's in my fishing tackle box, some story he was going to make up. But
that makes sense. Just buying it yourself online. I mean, online purchases is 101 in criminology. Who is this guy? How could he possibly be in a PhD program?
Yeah, and but I've heard that he tried to hide that with a gift card that was given to him. He thought maybe he could avoid the transaction by using a gift card and then deleting all of his history and deleting all of the proof that it was associated with this count. But
Where did you hear that?
There's some documents out there that talk about him deleting his Amazon history. And,
but the gift card part, where'd that come from?
It's been 2.5 years, to be honest. At the top of my head, I don't know where I heard the gift card.
We've all heard it.
I don't know.
Not sure if it's authorities or if it's just sort of in the reporting sort of ether.
Not even sure. I would definitely not say the authorities, because I don't want to tie their hands to say that they gave me something that isn't an official doc. But I definitely heard about the gift card. But like I said, I've heard of a lot of things because I've had a lot of ears and a lot of eyes, and I did a lot of calls, and I answered a lot of calls, investigated, talked to WSU employees, talked to UI employees, talked to basically anybody.
I think he's afraid to. He's not sure where he heard it, but I believe it was said in court, and I believe it's in a court document.
He was willing to help a dad out, and there was a lot of people in the community that were willing to help me.
What else do you know that I don't know? That at this point you're sort of at the leading edge of it, and where the fountain of information is starting to flow. The gag order we are soon to see pretty much gone. The documents are dropping. But what else is it that you know that we don't know?
Tell us it all, Steve.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what everyone knows.
We don't know anything.
I just know that there is other aspects of the case that they want to drop that hammer in the courtroom, and that's where we're at. I can't share too much, but I think it's coming out. I think Pitbull's strategy is, by the day we go into the courtroom, some percentage probably in his head is going to be out. And I've kind of heard that came from the media pressure. The media themselves, who had a challenge to the gag order, basically said, this is not something that is in law. Like, gag orders are for national security. Gag orders are not usually for an everyday crime in a state. I mean,
they're getting more popular, Steve. And let me tell you, I have been on a tear about the increased use and the broad range of the gags over these cases. And there's always the same excuse. We've got to protect the rights of the defendant. I get that. But if O.J. Simpson could get a verdict of not guilty with the amount of coverage on that case, arguably there's never been another case that's been as highly covered as O.J. And Michael Jackson, same thing.
Close. There
was a case, and Beretta. I mean, case after case after case, you can say highly publicized cases has still returned not guilty verdicts. So it's hard to convince me that a lot of publication can damage the defendant. Sometimes it can work in their favor.
Yeah, for sure. I believe if you're innocent, it 100% helps you. And even if there's not a case that is very strong, the facts, as stuff comes out, you should be able to combat it. I don't know what a gag order really does, but to protect somebody who's guilty. I mean, if the facts of the case, as they come out, if those make you look guilty, you want silence. You want to hide it. You want to keep it. You want to keep it out. But most people would just be like, throw them out, and I'll prove them. I'll knock them out of the park is inaccurate.
The fear is the poisoning of the jury pool with facts that may not qualify to be entered into evidence in the trial, and yet there they are. They know it anyway because of the media. But I keep going back to OJ. Plenty of things were suppressed in the OJ case, and it was all over the press. Karen Reed is another case. There's a case that is at retrial now, and it is a constant. I mean, there's docuseries, there's dramatic series, there's all sorts of coverage on Karen Reed, and she had a hung jury. So we'll see what happens this time. But I'm not one of those people who believes that a gag order serves American jurisprudence. We pride ourselves on having such a pristine, open, honest, and transparent system of justice in this country that everybody gets a fair defense. And if you're guilty, away you go. But you get your defense, you get your day in court, and that's something we should all be very proud of. But is there a detail? Is there a fact pattern, an area in this case that you got blind spots and you are waiting? It is the specific area that you want resolved the most, details that you're waiting for the most?
You know what? I've always questioned why there wasn't more warrants on certain things, things that have came out. I follow the warrants because the warrants I feel like are like the cheat code to figuring out where the truth is. When you hear these suspects, but there's no warrant related to them, then you can kind of toss those out. So I've made inquiries on certain things like, why have we not heard a warrant about this or that? Maybe accounts for my child, things that I know personally about. So those are just trying to make sure that the case is perfect and everything is right. It's probably just me worrying for no reason, but those are the type of things that I'll ask Shannon to reach out and say, hey, can we make sure that they know about all these accounts and clarify everything.
But there isn't something forensically like I personally keep thinking, how did the killer get out the sliding door of the kitchen, get to the car, get into the car, get to wherever the dumping ground was to get rid of the bloody clothing, the knife, and all the other implements of the crime, and get back to an apartment. And if it's Kohberger's apartment, all without leaving a forensic trail that was, a beacon of blinking lights, because that didn't exist. And I keep wondering what did that killer do to hide those tracks so well?
It's what if I said the killer actually wrote what he would do? Because Brian wrote a paper saying how he would go into a crime scene and not leave any evidence in that crime scene. So I think you just need to read what he wrote. He wrote exactly what he did, and he probably did more. Who knows what he learned in that Reddit post where he interviewed criminals that got caught or got away with different crimes. And, I believe he incorporated those into his night of action. So I think he came to that slider, opened it up whatever way he did, left it open, left some things outside at that slider, part of his kit, part of his plastic bag, whatever it was, went in, did his thing, was covered in a Dickie outfit from neck to toe, had this hood thing on that they also got that coming to his house. If you attack this guy, you wouldn't scratch him. You wouldn't be able to get your hands on him. The only place would be his eyes, and gloves on. I think people underestimate if you know what you're doing and you want to go in there and you got a mission and you've been planning it out, you can get into that house. I've seen the models. I've seen the 3D models where they're in and out, sometimes in like 5 minutes. So there's a couple of them depending on the path that they take. But yeah, when you really watch a timer and you see the amount of time this person's been in the house, he had more than enough time, and then he got right back out. His door to the slider is the same technique that he used to the doors into the room. He just didn't want to touch anything. He went in there with the plan, studied. He spent years and years in these classes just reading and admiring these other killers. And he was basically planning out to do his version of what they did and incorporate what they did and their mistakes and try to be that much better than them. So I think that's what you're going to see. He went in there, had a plan, did what he did, and then he bailed. And he bailed, and he had a shovel in the back car. I would assume that the shovel had something to do with wherever he went. He buried that thing and got rid of that. Maybe he had plastic on the seats. Maybe his trunk was lined with something. Tosses it all in there, and he's gone. And the path that he took, there isn't even street lights. It's dark roads and nothing but fields, open farm fields that you could drive up.
And water, lots of lakes.
Lots of water too. So I don't think once he got to that door, he was gone. He was gone.
Do you think, again, if it's Brian Kohberger, I have to say that because he's got his day in court, he's innocent until proven guilty. But if it's Brian Kohberger, do you think when do you think he chose his victims?
We wonder. Like I honestly, my personal thing is he probably did it in Pennsylvania when he gets the murder weapon. When he sends that to his house, he's made a commitment internally that that's what he's going to do and that's where he's going. And I think that there's murders out here, in this area of the Northwest that intrigued him. And some of them, the people were never caught. There's like a Lewis and Clark killer, got away with 5, even killed somebody from U of I, and then was never.
But when do you think he chose this house and these kids?
With social media, he could have done it long before, but it really comes down to like how in tune he was with. I personally think he was listening to 911 calls. I think he had an ability to listen to those calls, and he was just being a fly in the wall for a few weeks and figuring out what was going on, where the parties at, where were the girls at, what were things going on, where were the cool, popular kids at.
Well, he could have downloaded any app to get that information. You can download, what are they called? I'm from a small town and everybody has them. What are they called? Like they're like dispatchers or like I'm no offense to old people that have them because I think they're cool and I wish I had one. But they're like older people have them in their house and they're always listening to them, like police dispatch, police radios or whatever they're called. That's what I'm trying to think of, police radios. I can't imagine what these girls went through and Ethan. Like knowing what we know, after the interviews that he's done. I like I said in the chat, I've had a lung collapse, just one. And it was the scariest moment of my life. Like instantly, no, you cannot breathe. You're in so much pain. Like you're seeing colors. Like you're not even, I don't even remember after it happened. Like I straight back into surgery. Cause like you have minutes to save someone when that happens. And I was young. I mean, I was, when I collapsed my lung, I was 27, 28. So, I mean, I was young. These poor girls and Ethan.
And then he just started doing his thing and started doing a surveillance. He started driving around like at least 23 different times. He was driving around a dead end road. You can say he was shopping, but good luck trying to convince us all that you were out shopping it.
Have you heard any information that he was driving around any other homes? The number of times that he was driving around 1122 King Road? Like, have police ever said, we've discovered other surveillance where he spent an inordinate amount of time around another house or another location?
No. They have said that he spent an enormous amount of time around that address. And I think maybe that's what they were trying to say when they said this was targeted. And I feel like those were weird words to use. It made it sound like the kids were involved in something that made him targeted and started a bunch of rumors. But I think it was targeted because they were doing that cast system and that dump let them know exactly how many people were in that area that really weren't supposed to be there. They could see normal traffic, normal like roommates and people that were supposed to be in those apartments. And then they can start seeing, okay, this is somebody that's leaving, coming across the state line at a really unusual time. And they started, it's a process of elimination. Who's in this area during these late nights that might not belong here? And I think that's what they're going to show. And I think they're going to show an extensive, like sometimes minute by minute timeline where they know exactly where he was at. And they correlate that with cell phone activity with the girls, what they were doing, where they were at. People, that cast system for all those girls has all been there. The only records that were missing were for the person who turned their phone off, which again, who turns their phone off at 3 a.m. in a college town?
To go stargazing.
To go start. And like we said, where's your stargazing app? If you're out there, you got this app that identifies these stars that you're staring at. Don't play us like fools. Don't just expect us to think you're just walking around clicking at the sky.
Well, that's when the reasonable nature of a juror comes in, right? Like, what's reasonable to you? Is that reasonable? Does that really sound like your gut feels good about that? And jurors are usually pretty good at that stuff. Let me go back to something you mentioned about.
And jurors are just like you and me and all of us. Do you know what I mean? Like they're regular people. And they're going to see the evidence and they're going to hear some of this stuff. And like the night driving, stargazing, Kohlberger, you got to come up with something better than that, dude. Like, I don't know what you're going to do now because you're over 2 years in jail, but that wasn't a very good alibi.
I think you said someone reached out to you who had taken one of Brian Kohlberger's Reddit questionnaires. Is that true?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
We actually got a letter on that one. And then in the letter was a number to call. This individual said that they had been called. They got the Reddit. Somebody called to survey them on crimes. And he was like, I felt like I was getting set up by the cops. So I was just like, I answered it kind of like over the top. He's like, I kind of embellished some stuff, kind of pulling the cop's leg, hung up. This guy calls me back a couple of days later and we start talking again. And he goes, and I start feeling like this guy's like enjoying how I was describing how I was getting away with, like how I selected my victims. And he said, so I told him, I knew these neighborhoods that had a lot of money and somebody might drink a little too much wine. Somebody might make a call to 911 over a noise complaint. Somebody goes to jail. And when that male went to jail, I'd go to that house, surveil it. And if it looked like there was somebody in that house that was passed out, I would go rob that house. And that's how he picked his victims, I would say. and he would rob them from jewelry. And I don't know what you do nowadays. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but maybe cash or something. But he would rob them. He said that Brian seemed to enjoy his story, called him a couple of times. He said he was so odd about it that when this case came forward, he was like, I know exactly what this is about. I'm going to reach out and, maybe he's pulling my leg. There's been plenty of people who have sent us stuff that weren't accurate, but it always stuck with me. It already stuck. There's certain things that stick with you. That one was one of them. And, there's other stuff that other letters that we've given back to the prosecution and said, we don't even know what to do with this. And they've taken it. So
that was my next question. You shared that with prosecutors. They were interested to hear from these people.
Yeah, I don't know where it goes from there, but yeah, we've definitely given them the letters, and it's kind of like, it just seems like it's a dead end. You never hear again. I was hoping I'd get my letter back, but no, we never got anything back. And I've never seen anything like that in the list of evidence. So it probably turned out to be nothing.
Interesting. How are you doing? I mean, we're 2.5 years. We're down the final stretch here, Steve. You're only a couple months away from jury selection.
It's a new feeling to know that you're coming to the end of something that, it's been 2 years of your life, over 2 years of your life. And, try to think like, what should we do as a family? Should we go on a vacation? Should we do something? Like, how do you have a next day of your life when your life's been invested and so dedicated to one thing? It's not just me. My Kaylee's sisters are super dedicated, and everybody's worked on this case. And then, like, you can't let your mind go. So, we're trying to figure out something, but we have to start planning now that, it sounds like some subpoenas went out, and I would think if they're going through that, the trial's going to happen when it's supposed to be happening. And
who got subpoenaed?
I can't say who got subpoenaed, but
like family members.
Some people got subpoenaed, and they basically told them they need to be available for court. So I think if that came out, then we're going to be sticking to the schedule that Hippler's put out, and that's what I really appreciate, because we've got a lot of money invested in where we're going to stay. And we were well informed by media that there was going to be a rush for houses that would be large enough for my family. And so we got that. So hopefully, we can show up and everything happens on schedule.
I am sorry, but if there was a rush of houses and the Goncalves family couldn't find a home to stay in, and I was one of those people, I would be opening up my doors and being like, come on in, have a seat, have a bed. Can I get you a sandwich? But I know that when this trial was supposed to happen back June of 2023, we had creators. They were like, we're going to go and we're going to camp out there. We're going to camp out in front of we're going to camp all week. I guess for the trial, the whole trial, they're just going to camp out there. Like, you could do that. Like, you could just go into the Latah County, court parking lot and pitch a tent and get your grill out, get your keg out because you want to, drink with the homeboys. Things like that. But yeah, creators were going to do that.
Schedule, so we're not jerked around anymore. But some people are trying to say that they need more time, even though they've taken more cases on, and they should have never done anything like that after they strung us all across the state of Idaho. And now,
that subpoenas have gone out. That means that there are dates that they're looking more likely they're going to lock in.
Yep, and that's what I got looking forward to. So
he looks relaxed in this interview.
Maybe I shouldn't look forward to it, because once we go to court, who knows what that's going to look like. But
it's the end of the tunnel, and it's been a long, dark tunnel, that's for sure. And you deserve to be out of it. You all deserve to be out of it. But I agree. I don't know what the answer is. What's on the other side for you and your family? This has been you've had a new identity for the last 2.5 years. What will it be after?
And I've told people before, but my wife and my daughter, Kaylee and Maddie, they all love that true crime stuff. And I always thought to my back of my head, like, I ain't going to get caught watching any of that stuff, because that's somebody's real family. That's somebody's real dad or somebody's real mom, or that's their wife, and lo and behold, it happens to me. So
one thing I will say at CrimeCon, I had a real epiphany from John Ramsey, John Benet's dad. And he said that he would avoid a lot of that for a long time. He thought it was so macabre, And then he realized when he was at CrimeCon, how many people loved him and how much support he had, and how many people are dedicated to justice. Like the real true crime fanatics are in it. Not everybody, but a lot of them, a majority of them are in it for the justice. And that made him feel a lot better. He suddenly felt a sea of love that he didn't even know existed before. And that made me feel really good. I felt for a guy who's been through what he's been through for
He's been
30
through
years,
hell.
maybe feel a lot better for him.
That guy's been through
But,
hell.
I'm sure
you're in the club, right? You're in the club.
Hilarious.
And I'm sure that guy had it even worse than most, because at least I got another guy that is actually responsible. But I get a ton of hate just because I'm vocal and I'm out here saying, hey, let's get him and let's go for him and let's get the evidence out and all this. So it brings a ton of hate my way. But that guy, I imagine he had a really, really tough go at it. So I feel for him.
You're getting a ton of hate?
Oh yeah, for sure. Anybody who says they're going for, the guy who did it, there's always these people that think he didn't do it. So
maybe it's time. Maybe we should write the Goncalves as a little letter and send it to their Facebook, just saying we support you. That's all we have to say. We don't even have to say much more than that. Just wanted you to know that we support you and we support
they
the
come after
justice
you because
system.
you're the source of some of the information. I mean, if I just go away, maybe there's an easier path for him to, keep his name out of the press and keep people, they forget about it. And, there's witnesses out there. Maybe they forget about it and they don't realize, they move on with their lives and, we don't get justice.
What kind of things are they saying?
We get people taking pictures of our house, posting them online, threatening us. I've had to call the cops to come do surveillance around my house. Yeah.
People are going to their house. Oh my goodness. Leave those people alone.
I mean, there's I don't even want to tell you all the things that's happened. We made a police report in Boise last time we were there because I don't want to give these crazy people any more ideas on how they can mess with us. And if I described what they did, I'd probably just given a couple of those weirdos more ways to come after us. But I think they relate a lot with Brian, and deep down inside they see like a kindred spirit. And there's some people that they have a vendetta against judges and judgment and cops, and so there's this. Maybe like 95% are here for all the right things. They want to see like an old fashioned movie where it ends right. And then there's this 5% of people that are like, I'm not one of those cool kids that got killed. I'm a loser. I quit everything. I do drugs. I'm addicted. I've got all these problems and I hate people. And you hear it. I mean, you literally hear that from these people that do these horrible mass murders and school shootings. You literally hear them say that. So I think, and we know for a fact, one of them, that Georgia Gray kid, Georgia, the state where he did the school shooter, his last name was Gray. Colt Gray, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to even say these kids' names. I don't want to give them any platform, but it could be confusing. People always think, well, you're not being clear when you don't give this information out. But so this guy, he was a BK fan and he made threats to our family. So,
the Georgia shooter, the school shooter, made threats to your family?
Yes, that's what we were told. He made an open threat or a forum threat, saying if the Goncalves don't shut their mouths, we should shut it for them. And this is a guy who ends up going killing people.
Well, I know justice is coming your way, and there's nothing I can say that will ever make it feel better. I see it myself in the work that I do. There's this underbelly that has become so filthy and vile over the last 20 years. I don't know where they came from. I don't know why they exacerbated. I just know that they got a tool in the internet to help them be loud and vocal. And thank God it is a minority, because you don't deserve that. I'm really appreciative of this, Steve. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
My great.
Oh, it is a minority. I mean, it seems like a lot because we're on YouTube, so we see it more than the average person. Like even Ashley Banfield, we see it more than her. I mean, if you guys are, and most of you guys, are like, you guys use YouTube as your entertainment, like, your TV and stuff. That's what I use it for. My TV's on in the living room right now, and it's on Fox News, and it needs to get off of Fox News. It's just been boring me. I can, like, when I'm cleaning, I can hear it, and it bores me to death. But I'm normally just like, if I'm like cleaning or doing like chores around the house, I'm always listening to like a true crime podcast or someone talking about something with something to do with something. I go into a lot of different channels. But I do that. I love that about Steve too. He doesn't stop dadding. Nope. I would hide if there was an intruder. Okay, so Felicia, I mean, I can't even have someone knock on my door without me hiding in the closet. Like we have a closet here, but we have a closet back here, like way, way back, like in our bedroom. And every time like the doorbell rings, it's my PTSD. It's from when my dad passed. My dad was killed in a car accident. So, I go straight to the closet and I hide in there, and it's just that's just my brain, it's just PTSD. So people would, when I right after my car accident and everything, like that's when people were coming to see me a lot, and they had to do like a special knock, like the dun 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 dun. Dun. I call it the friendly knock. That's like the friendly knock to me. That's not like boom, 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 the cops are here or something, like, but here we have a buzzer and it's annoying. Oh my, I wish that you guys could hear it. It's the worst buzzer. It's not a pretty sound. It's horrible. So if I hear that, I get nervous and like I'll just go into the closet, and then I text Vincent. For some reason, he has the app on his phone for our Ring doorbell. And so I'm like, I don't know who's out there. I'll like text him like, who's out there? And he'll be like, it's Amazon or something. It's always something like, nothing to be scared of, but it's just me. I get nervous. So, I mean, if I had an intruder in my house, I probably would hide. I listen to scary stories like all the time. Like when I'm going to bed, I listen to these like scary stories, and I hear people say like, there was someone in their closet and they jumped out at them and they were able to jump off the bed and run out the front door and get away. And I'm like, no, I would be dead. Like I would just be standing there like in shock probably. And horror, I would be I would probably freeze when it comes to fight, flight, freeze. I would probably freeze at first. Maybe no one see me, you know. Oh, there is all kinds of crazy stuff going on the platforms nowadays. Yeah, yeah, I do. I can always call 911 when I'm hiding. I wish they had like a texting thing option. Actually, I don't know. I don't think I could text very well with my watch. Actually, I could. It's a lot bigger than my old one. Oh, look, I just messed up the band. Huh. It's okay. Let's see. I was gonna look at the chat. Well, me too. Yeah, don't come to my house unless I know you're coming, He is an amazing dad. He really is. Steve's the kind of dad that's the kind of, dad that I want to have if something happened to me. And my dad would be like that. He would have been a fighter. He'd either be a mess on the floor, having my mom do everything, or he'd be fighting. I don't know which, but yeah, so we went over the new documents. I don't think that there was any more. We went over like an article instead of the actual document. There was two to seal, and then the other one was to strike the death penalty, which was denied. I went through it earlier. I read it, and then I found an article that just summarized it a lot better for you guys. So I was like, oh, we'll go with that. They are saying, Ann Taylor doesn't need to be picking up other cases if she can't handle Brian Koberger's. She already had this one, right? She wants to be paid $200 for this case, $200 for this case. I don't know how much for the other case, but she wants all these, like, I don't know, on all these cases, and it's just crazy to me. Oh, really? You can't? Let's see. Maybe, I don't know. Never tried. I thought I could. Over on the Goncalves' page? I can message them. And I can comment. Yeah, like on mine. I don't know if it's any different. It's just, I mean, I just use my old Facebook. It's just under TitaniumBuilt now. I haven't been on here since, like, it goes straight to the Goncalves' page. That's how much I get on Facebook. It doesn't even go to my own Facebook. Like when I type in Facebook, it just goes straight to the Goncalves' family page. But yeah, am I not subscribed? Oh yeah, I'm subscribed. Okay. Maybe you have to be subscribed. But I can message. It says right here. And then I have actually messaged before. That was 5/29/23. And then you can comment here. Yeah. So we'll have to, I'll have to think about what to say. We'll have to go over there and say something to them. Say something nice. Oh yeah, I wanted to go over that. Yeah, so there was no connection. I don't have the file up anymore. exit out of it, but I had it highlighted that I highlighted that part. Their prosecution and the defense are both saying that there's no connections to the victims and Brian Kohlberger. I don't know how there wouldn't be a connection of some sort somewhere, somehow, unless he really was doing all of this through like Zillow and 12 times just driving over there. And that's almost even more. That's even more scary. That's even more scary, actually. That's scarier than the latter. Oh, but not make like a new post. Yeah, I'll just maybe we'll message him. Right? Get to the ducking point. They're making a lot of money. And they even kept on Logston. Like he's supposed to be there reading the documents. What's he doing? Hand gestures? Flipping that book open awfully loud. Man, I wish I would have kept that clip. I should have kept that clip. That was funny. That was hilarious. But if you guys didn't get to see, Ashley did do another interview with Steve, and it's on News Nation. It's under the News Nation app. I'll copy and paste it in the chat for you guys in case you want to watch it. Who's having a milkshake? I want a milkshake. Vanilla shake, you're having one, Wizard Walt? No, I want one. Oh, dear vanilla ice walnut. I'm like, that sounds good. Oh, harsh, yeah. I told Vincent the other day, I was like, I so bad. I haven't watched any of his videos in years, but I so just want to click. I just want to clip one up, like pick one up and be like, let's go over this. Cause I did do that actually. It's been a long time and I didn't do it good because I thought that you could hear his part, but you couldn't. You could just hear me like going like commentating. But I did commentate over one of his videos one time. I just picked one and I just broke down, everything in the video. It's like, I guess his subscribers are paying for him to come over here to go to the trial. That's what I've heard. That's thousands of dollars. Where the hell what are these people doing? And what are these people doing? I don't get it. If you have that much money, go yourself, right? I would be like, I'm not sending you my money. I'll go myself. I live in America. I have like a mother-in-law a couple states over. I think it's actually like 2 states over or something. Harsh. I heard Harsh is coming over for the trial. He had a GoFundMe, yeah. Look at that. Oh my gosh, a GoFundMe. Oh my Lord. I don't even want to know how much he got. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. I kind of want to know. Like, I kind of want to know. One's loose. Oh no. Are you going to be able to get your other one back, Olga? We might have to go. I used to watch him like every day too. I used to like it, but right? Baby girl, me too. I need a GoFundMe for life. Right? That's crazy. I mean, I don't. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I guess, I mean, I don't know. What's he going to do? And when okay, so I'm kind of speechless. I'm just like thinking of this playing out in my head. I'm thinking of Harsh showing up to court. Hopefully he'll show up to the right courthouse, and then I can just picture Steve Goncalves just staring at him because Steve knows the heavy hitters that are for Brian Kohlberger and then the people that are covering that are for the facts. And you know what I mean? Like they're just a little different. And I think Steve knows everybody. Steve he probably even knows me. And I'm a little channel. He probably knows us all. He probably knows the channels that have like 300 subscribers. He's probably like, I know y'all. He probably has a room dedicated with monitors everywhere. Man. I know. I con people hat. Wizard, I always would ask Vincent, I'm like, what do you think that hat smells like? Just just think about that. Like, I don't know. It gets hot being around these lights. Like, I'm not that hot tonight, but I'm usually burning up, but I have on shorts. Oh, okay. Before I get off here, I want to tell you a funny story. So I'm getting played by pigeons. Um, you guys know in the beginning of the spring, I told you guys about a little pigeon family I had, mommy, daddy, pigeon, and then they made 2 babies. One of the babies acted like he didn't want to like go from like the nest because we would watch them and stuff. It was an awesome experience, right? Well, I thought, okay, I'm gonna get my blinds back because they made their nest on top of my blinds. So there's been a pigeon up there, right, for 3 weeks, just hanging out. Like, the pigeon doesn't move. It'll turn around and, like, face the other way sometimes, or it'll face me, but it doesn't leave. We've never seen the pigeon leave, ever, and I'm like, "How is this pigeon eating?" Right? Like, how is the pigeon eating the food? Like, how's it getting food? Is it, like, what are we gonna do? So Vincent's looking up how to feed a pigeon, and it says, "Don't feed it because all their pigeon friends will come. We don't want that." So we're sitting there today, and Vincent screams at me. He's like, "There's another one." So listen to this. There's 2 of them. They switch spots. We've been looking at 2 different pigeons this whole dang time. Didn't even know it was 2 different birds. They're playing me. So now I have two pigeons. One's smaller and one's a little bit larger. And I'm thinking that it's the babies. I think the babies came back. I think so. Oh, thank you, Devaney. That's nice of you to say. Thank you so much. You did get okay, good. That's a scary thought. We have too many dogs in the neighborhood now. Oh, yeah, I thought that I heard someone about AR said that he would talk to somebody about this case. Like, did he say he had contact with Brent Kohlberger or something like random, like something like that, like something like so crazy over the top? I did hear something a while back. But I don't really watch a whole lot of people that cover Idaho 4, which is weird. But like TNT, like I hit those the 3 dots, not recommend, and that was like 2.5 years ago, something like that, 2 years ago. Best decision I ever made. Like, I'm telling you, if you guys ever need a break from a channel, just hit those 3 buttons and hit like the don't recommend, and they're gone forever. And it's like it feels good. So yeah, so I have 2 birds now. I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. I don't know if they're staying. I don't know if they're making babies. I think they're the brother and sister, so probably not. But yeah, that's my story I wanted to tell you guys at the end of tonight's live. I was like, "Look at that." I couldn't believe it. So when one's up there, the other one's out eating. Now we know that they're eating, so at least that's good. They said he talks to the family. Oh, yeah, that the family were going to court. This was before the judge ruled that they can't show up before they testify. Yeah. But, you know that, Brian Kohlberger's family was offered $1 million from Peacock the same time that Rex Heuermann's wife, Asa Ellerup, was offered $1 million from Peacock for their story, and they said no. So I'm gonna go on a limb, out on a limb here, and say that they're not talking to anybody. Nobody. Like, nobody can even get a picture of Miss Kohlberger. She's in the house. Daily Mail can't even get her. But we got, his dad out in the weeds and grass, whatever he's standing in. But oh man, people be crazy. I've messaged him before, so I think I can. What was the message about? Or just me saying, okay, oh, that's nice. That was nice of me to say that. Oh, I was asking if there's anything we could do to help. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was, we just talked about sharing the, pay it forward thing for, Kaylee's birthday. That's what we were talking about last year. Or year before last. Wow, that was 2023. Oh, they will, yeah, they'll say anything to get views. Me and Vincent tonight, like we were like doing the thumbnail. I guess he's been doing them for me. I like that he does them. So we sit in here because he has the same desk as me. And um, I was trying to think of like a thing, like a title. And I'm like, just put new documents because that's really what it is. It's new documents. Like I'm not good with like clickbaiting people. I feel bad about doing it because I feel like if I clickbait someone, like y'all come in, and that's the first thing you ask about. Like if I do something like, huge revelation or something like that, like y'all come in and be like, what was that huge revelation? What was it, Tanya? And like we'll be like 2 minutes into the video. So because y'all know just as much as I do about this case. But Gray Hughes, yeah, he's a little rude. He's a little rude. He's a little rude. I know I need to reach out to Daniel. Maybe we could do a show together. Because I see that we cover like this, we've covered the same topics, like, and we have the same music even. Not this song for this, but one of my other songs. And I'm like, that is crazy to me. And I just subscribed to him the other day. I was subscribed to him. I don't know what happened. And now I am again. Not a gag on court property. Well, you never know. I might pull one out of my butt there, Ladybug. How about some boxed wine? Reporter room, yeah. She does clickbait a lot. I see hers on Twitter. I'm just like, oh, look at that. He's very grumpy. Like he said he was in jail one time. Oh my gosh. He said he was like, I'm in jail. And if you guys don't pay for me to bail me out, like I'm not going to get bailed out to do the show. Like he had like fake bars on his like screen and nobody was bailing him out, like with like sending him super chats. Could you imagine if I got on here and was like, I'm not going to start the show until I get $10 super chats. I don't know. I couldn't even say that. I don't even think I could do that as an April Fool's thing with you guys. You guys would already know. You already be laughing. I would be laughing saying it. But yeah, he does. He does he gets upset, I think, when he doesn't make like certain goals or something. I don't know. Because he's like, I bring you the best. I'm like, okay. I bring the same news and I don't gotta yell at y'all. But complains about being too. Oh yeah. Yeah, DM. And I think he's privated some. I haven't watched Reporter Room in a long time. Oh, Willow's, he had a warrant out the other day. Like he went to jail and then he had a warrant out. And I was like, oh, so how hard he's fallen, Karma. I'm telling you, karma comes around and it comes around sometimes quick. Like I've seen other creators where they have come on this platform and they have done the most vulgar things and then something bad's happened. Like, and they've had to come off the platform. And it's like, wow, I just keep things to myself. Yeah, the red and yellow. I think that's like her trademark. I used to watch T-Rev back in the day. Every once in a while I would, but that's T-Rev. And he had everybody like calling in and saying that he was like, he had someone call in and say that they were Maddie Soto's, like Stephen Stern's best friend or something like that. And all that stuff came out. And thanks, Jenna. Thank you for the super sticker. That's so nice of you. Paying your dues. See, now we can get started. Just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Yeah, all difficulty. Yeah, he would. Well, what was that? There was that guy in the 80s. Remember? I think this guy killed his daughter, his little girl, and he shot him. Like, I think they were bringing him back. Like, I think he was like in the airport or something random. You guys would probably remember. This is from like the 80s. And the guy shot him. And I think the guy didn't even get jail time for it. Or if he did, he didn't get that much. They were just like, kind of looked the other way, but they didn't really look the other way. I mean. Yeah, he's just, oh, man, I don't know how people can just like, you, he knows what he's saying is bullshit. I just don't know how you can bullshit for that long. Yeah. Fuel to his fire. I bet it is. I bet it is. And I can't wait for all this evidence to come out. I mean, I should go over and see what he's saying about it. I can only imagine twisting and turning. Is he saying corruption? I love it when they scream corruption. That's usually what they scream first, and the long list of things that they'll scream. But people don't like to be told that they're wrong and that everything isn't a conspiracy. And sometimes the evidence is leading to the right suspect. And in this case, I think it is. I personally think it is. But we'll find out in August when the rest of the evidence comes out. We've been getting a lot of a lot of new information. And I think as long as we see we continue to see information coming out, I think that it'll reassure everybody that, yeah, they got the right guy. And it was just him and only him, So. But I'm going to jump off of here. Thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate it. If you guys don't mind, hit the like button on your way out. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel. We do talk true crime nightly here. So if that's something that you're into, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and like the video. And I'll see you guys all tomorrow evening, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye, guys.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to live this out. We got this far, don't know how.